Vanakkam Dohadevan, everyone. Wonderful to be with you. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And I'll share the screen. December 18th. Here we are. And our first topic, Satkarma, bhakti and jnanam. Oh, that's an interesting combination of words. It's a talk that's scheduled to be given at Kailas Ashram, Bengaluru on January 8th by me. So coming up, I thought you'd enjoy seeing it. The topic is chosen by Charyandapuri Swamiji. So I had to ask him what he meant. Wasn't sure, I'm not used to the word Satkarma. So once he told me, it made sense. So we're going to split it into 3 parts. Talk's a little over 30 minutes long, so about 12 minutes each part, roughly. Practice makes perfect is certainly a commonly used phrase. Normally it refers to how we can acquire a skill that we do not have. For example, let's say we type 20 words a minute with 2 index fingers. We make a decision to improve that skill and attend a typing class for 6 months, practicing every day. We master the skill of typing with all 10 fingers without looking at the keyboard at an average speed of 50 words a minute. Our practice made our typing more perfect. When this concept is applied to efforts in our spiritual life, it takes on a different meaning. This is because our inner essence, our soul nature, is already perfect. Our practice or self-effort is to bring that inner perfection into our outer intellectual, emotional, and instinctive nature. Thus we could modify the adage to be. And that's a question to you. What do you think the adage would be instead of practice makes perfect? How would you modify that to talk about bringing our inner into our outer? The answer I have is practice manifests perfection. So the inside, the soul nature, is already perfect. It's just that we need to have it influence our outer nature instead of sitting there all by itself untapped. Swami Rangananda Anandji of the Ramakrishna Mission, passed on 2005, expressed this idea beautifully in an article we published in 1999 on medical ethics in Hinduism Today. He stated that the Hindu view of man is that his essential, real nature is the Atman, or self, which is immortal, self-luminous, the source of all power, joy, and glory. Everything that helps in the manifestation of the divinity of the soul is beneficial and moral, and everything that obstructs this inner unfoldment is harmful and immoral. So manifestation, practice manifests perfection. So he's using manifestation. Gurudeva gives a succinct description of our divine nature. Deep inside we are perfect this very moment, and we have only to discover and live up to this perfection to be whole. We have taken birth in a physical body to grow and evolve into our divine potential. We are inwardly already one with God. Our religion contains the knowledge of how to realize this oneness and not create unwanted experiences along the way. Both Swamis are stating the ultimate goal of Hinduism, which is jnana, the jivatma experiencing itself as Paramatma. This experience is termed Paramatma Darshana. In giving talks on the idea of how we can grow and evolve into our divine potential, I frequently use the analogy of dance. I ask the audience what is most needed for a youth to become good at Hindu classical dance. Those are fancy outfits. Amazing. Invariably, many state the answer that I have in mind: practice. Ideal daily practice. Reading books about dance won't make you a good dancer, nor will attending classes without practicing what you have learned. Regular practice is needed to make the body limber and master the many movements, positions, gestures, and expressions. Likewise, to grow and evolve into our divine potential, to manifest our inner perfection in our outer intellectual and instinctive nature, requires regular practice. Further comparison of dance to Hinduism is looking at the final goal of each and understanding what is needed to achieve it. In dance, it is clear you need to start with simply making the body limber, then systematically learning the various movements, positions, gestures, and expressions, learning to combine them to perform simple dances, and after that, more and more complex dances can be mastered. So you have to start with the basics. Oh, that's the question to you. What are the Hindu practices that need to be done first? What are the basics? In Hinduism, as I mentioned, the ultimate goal is Paramatma Darshana. What are the simpler practices that need to be done before they can be achieved? And as probably all of you have heard, one of my favorite verses in Tirumantiram gives us a good answer, verse 1444. We're just doing the English today because the talk is not to a Tamilian group in Bengaluru, though there's no Tamil. Being the life of life is splendorous jnana worship. Beholding the light of life is great yoga worship. Giving life by invocation is external worship. Adoration that displaces anger is charya worship. This verse starts by stating the ultimate goal of Hinduism, which, as we mentioned, is jnana, the jivatma experiencing itself as Paramatma. The verse then goes on to state the lesser attainments that need to accomplish before Paramatma Darshana is possible. Let's look at what those accomplishments are by going through the verse in reverse order. So the reverse starts with the highest, then the next highest, then the middle, and then the basic one. Basic one is in the fourth line of the verse. Line 4 reads, adoration that displaces anger is charya worship. In other words, we need to control the tendency to become angry. Commentaries expand what we need to control to include other such vices as well. This is the idea that in Hinduism, the first level of practice is refraining from all wrongdoing, which in Sanskrit is called papa karma, meaning actions that yield demerit. One way of stating the Hindu practices that need to be done first is to refrain from papa karma. So that's the answer. The restraints, the refraining. There are a number of different lists of what actions are considered papa. Among those listed, non-injury is the most important. The Mahabharata extols its importance by saying, ahimsa is the highest dharma, it is the highest purification. It is also the highest truth from which all Dharma proceeds. In the Yoga Darshana, the idea of restraining wrongdoing is called yama. Patanjali gives 5, and ahimsa is the first, shows its importance. Sandili Upanishad gives a great definition. Ahimsa is not causing pain to any living being at any time, and as we know, it's threefold, through the actions of one's mind, speech, or body. So it's not just physical, it's also what we say and even what we think. Common justification for using violence is in retaliation for injuries to you, members of your family, your religion, or nation. There are many in the world today who believe that in those instances you have a duty to personally retaliate. This is commonly referred to as the eye for an eye mentality. However, Hinduism does not support this idea. In fact, our oldest scripture, the Rig Veda, speaks against it. Return not blow for blow, nor curse for curse. Neither meanness for base tricks. Shower blessings instead. Very high-minded. Yogaswami has an excellent description of virtuous conduct in one of his published letters. More precious than life itself is virtuous conduct. Those who practice virtuous conduct possess everything that is worthwhile. Avoidance of killing and stealing, refraining from slandering others, absence of covetousness, humility, truthfulness, and so forth. These are the characteristics of a life of virtuous conduct. Yogaswami goes on to say, whatever the work may be, a man should train himself to carry it out with perseverance, devotion, and joy. By disciplining himself in this way, he will acquire steadiness of mind. That is to say, the mind will become one-pointed. This will allow the Atma increasingly to manifest its power. Yogaswami's ending sentence is again mentioning the idea of practice manifests perfection, manifests the power of the Atma. And second topic, as usual, is questions sent to satsang@hindu.org. And last week we had such a profound question that required a 2-part answer, so we're continuing to answer last week's question, which is, what will be the nature of awareness after moksha? What will awareness be aware of after moksha? Thank you. I gave the first part of an answer which presented the difference between realization, liberation, and final merger. Today's part of the answer, we will look at what happens to awareness after each of these attainments. A very interesting question. So to make sure we're looking at it the same way, this is reading the Mind Academy Lexicon definition. Self-realization, direct knowing of the self-God, Parashiva. Self-realization is known in Sanskrit as nirvikalpa samadhi, ecstasy without form or seed. The ultimate spiritual attainment, also called asamprajñata samadhi. Esoterically, this state is attained when the mystic kundalini force pierces through the sarasvara at the crown of the head. This transcendence of all modes of human consciousness brings the realization, or non-experience, of that which exists beyond the mind, beyond time, form, and space. But even to assign a name to Parashiva or to its realization is to name that which cannot be named. In fact, it is experienced only in its aftermath as a change in perspective, a permanent transformation, and as an intuitive familiarity with the truth that surpasses understanding. The last sentence is our answer. Awareness has a change in perspective after self-realization. His perspective now includes the knowledge of the aftermath of the non-experience of Parashiva, which is a technical way of saying there is an identity of being Parashiva that wasn't there before. But it can't be conceptualized or verbalized. Then we get liberation. Moksha, release from the bonds of pasha, after which the soul is liberated from samsara, round of births and deaths. In Saivasiddhanta, pasha is the threefold bondage of anava, karma, and maya, which limit and confine the soul to the reincarnational cycle so that it may evolve. Moksha is freedom from the fettering power of these bonds, which do not cease to exist, but no longer have the power to fetter or bind the soul. Nicely said. Patanjali makes that same point, that for one soul, there's no bonds, but the bonds still exist for everybody else. Liberation means we never again take on a physical body. However, we still have an astral body and a soul body. In terms of awareness, there is no difference from before liberation. So liberation doesn't change how awareness is functioning. It doesn't change the perspective of awareness. It's just you're permanently dropping off the physical body. Then we get the fourth one, final merger, Vishvagrasa, of the soul and Shiva at the fulfillment of its evolution. It is the ultimate union of the individual soul body with the body of Shiva, Parameshvara, within the Shiva Loka, from whence the soul was first emanated. This occurs at the end of the soul's evolution, after the four outer sheaths, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and Vijnanamaya Kosha, have been discarded. Finally, Anandamaya Kosha, the soul form itself, merges in the primal soul. Individuality is lost as the soul becomes Shiva, the creator, preserver, destroyer, veiler, and revealer. Individual identity expands into universality. Having previously merged in Parashiva and Parashakti in states of samadhi, the soul now fully merges into Parameshvara and is one with all three of Shiva's perfections. Jiva has totally become Shiva, not a new and independent Shiva, as might be construed, for there is and can only be one supreme God, Shiva. And then the specific answer about awareness. In merger, the individual soul has merged into Shiva and ceases to exist. Therefore, its awareness also ceases to exist. Awareness isn't there anymore. That was there before. There's a new awareness, which is the awareness of Shiva. Final merger, Vishvagrasa, can be compared to pouring water into the ocean. The water that was in the bottle has become an integral part of the ocean and cannot be separated again. So that's the idea. Imagine you're the water in the bottle, that's you as awareness, going into the ocean, which is Shiva as awareness. Clearly, you've just become non-different from Shiva. O Vishvagrasa. Shiva alone remains, as they say. Third topic, as usual, character. Playfulness is our 45th character quality. Interesting one from our character building workbook. And as usual, we ask you to define it first. How would you define playfulness? Playfulness is having fun and sharing humor with family and friends. I cultivate it by being spontaneous, carefree, and crazy now and then. The opposite is sternness. And Gurudeva's quotes, "The world is a glorious place, not to be feared. It is a gracious gift from Shiva himself, playground for his children in which to interrelate young souls with the old, the young experiencing their karma while the old hold firmly to their dharma." That's a beautiful perspective on the world. And it's a playground. That's why the quote is there. Playful in the playground. But you could see the young souls and the old souls, and they're interrelating, and that interrelationship helps both groups. Second quote, "And if you feel that everything happening to you is a play of universal love, and you are able to maintain that consciousness of universal love in yourself, then you are beyond the happenings of the world. Lifted in consciousness, you can see through and enjoy all states of consciousness." Comparing the actions of one who is playful to one who is stern. First situation, on an evening the family is home and free, you, playfulness, secretly arranged for a popular comedy to be watched. Sternness, go to your room, not eager to interact with everyone tonight. Second situation, you're with friends in the mountains and it begins to snow, so you, playfulness, drag everyone into the white powder and teach them to make snow angels. Sternness, complain about the cold and beg everyone to adjourn to the hotel for hot chocolate. Third situation, studying together with a group of students, you, playfulness. Slide didn't move. There it is. Surprise them by ordering pizza to arrive during a break. Then insist they sing old songs together. Sternness, give no thought to anything but preparing for the test ahead, hour after hour with no breaks. Reflection, take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in playfulness. And the assignment during these 2 weeks, look for a new activity that would be fun or humorous for family or friends to enjoy. And then we get a comment from me. There is a common misconception that if we are serious about making spiritual progress and being regular in our sadhanas, we must hold tightly to a somber attitude toward life. We can be strict with ourselves, but joyous and playful at the same time. Of course, if we are struggling with major difficulties, this perspective may temporarily be lost. However, Gurudeva's affirmation that life is meant to be lived joyously reminds us of the need to work with ourselves to regain a joyful perspective as quickly as possible. Oh, this is a good point. Someone goes along living a life, having a normal amount of playfulness, then they take up the spiritual path and they get serious about being spiritual. All of a sudden, playfulness goes away. They become somber, always overly serious about everything. So that's not Gurudeva's approach. Gurudeva says life is meant to be lived joyously, which means there should be some play in it. In a balanced life, there's time to be playful. And unfortunately, our educational system, particularly in Asia, takes the play out of childhood a bit early, in my opinion. Serious exams at ridiculously young ages. But, parents can do the best they can with classes and tuition and everything, and try and have some playfulness in the life of the kids. My understanding from one source was children's duty up to the age of 12 was to play. Serious study wasn't supposed to start till age 12, but it's not possible anymore. But the basic idea is don't become somber as an adult, and You want to have fun with your kids, with family members, friends, on a regular basis. Be playful. Don't want to spend too much time in play, but you don't want to spend too little time in play either. So thank you very much.